welcome to our Together We Thrive series. This is the first of many series to come, and I hope to share with you insights from the movers and shakers in our country that is informative, relevant, and useful to you. In this episode, I'd like to focus on employment for graduates, specifically on writing resumes. Well-written resumes can create a first impression, a good first impression that compels the potential employer or hiring manager to call you for an interview. Good resumes can create an impression, and it should outline one's background, skills, and education so that a potential employer is quickly and easily able to see how your individual experiences can contribute to the company's success. With me today is Mr Ishak Karim, a professional with 25 years of experience at an international semiconductor company by day and a social entrepreneur by night. He's also a career coach and a motivator. A little background about him: he started his life from a humble beginning elder. He graduated with a BSc in Electrical Engineering and Masters of Science in Operations Research from the George Washington University, USA. He was also appointed as a Board of Studies and Industrial Advisor to IIUM. He has been helping fresh graduates and young professionals to improve their resumes, interview skills, and eventually secure the first or better jobs. He's also in the list of 100 most inspirational icons in Malaysia. So here we are. Welcome to Ishaak. Hi.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Hi.
Hi, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been my pleasure.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. And how's the MCO for you?
It's been very busy. It's not much different actually from the real life, except, I've been sitting on my working desk for almost 13, 14 hours a day.
So you too work from home then?
Yes, I'm working from home.
Okay. You are appointed as the Board of Studies and Industrial Advisor for IIUM. What's your role there, if we may ask?
Yeah, as the industrial advisor and then board of studies, my role is basically to advise the university, especially UIA or IIUM,
All right.
on their curriculum so that to make sure that their curriculum is relevant to the industries. I say we because there's a few of us is doing it. Advise or have a meeting on a regular basis, on the quarterly basis for curriculum review every year to make sure that the curriculum is relevant. That's one thing. The second thing is I also reviewed or judged the IDP and also FYP, final year project for the seniors, IDP for the third year students on the semester basis. So I come to URA or IUM almost every semester to do this.
Right.
And also on the top of that, I also did do a career talk on a semester basis, and also do a course offline coaching with their student as well. I used to do a job placement for them or internship placement for them, but my current role is no longer doing that. Therefore, I do not have any power, so to speak, to grant any internship placement or job placement.
Okay, great. You are very busy then.
Yeah, I like it actually.
Okay, keeps you very occupied, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So far, how many, tell us about your resume review. What got you started in this?
When I came back from the US back in 2005, and it was a the beginning of the new factory in Kulim, and at that time we were hiring like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and I received many resumes from the fresh graduates. Then when I look at them, I feel like they need help.
Mm-hmm.
The quality of the resume that they send us, and then the quality of resume that we receive is not to the par
Okay.
of the what the hiring managers and HR is looking for.
Okay.
Then I said yes, why not? I mean, based on my previous experience, um, working in the industry for that long at that time is already close to 50 10 years, a little bit more than 10 years, then I say I could help. So that's what I do. I start screening the resumes and then look at their resumes, and then some of them I do help uh, to improve their resume so that the resume gets to the hiring managers. Because if they send the resumes to me, then
Mm-hmm.
I myself is very embarrassed to submit that resume to the hiring managers with that
Mm-hmm.
quality. So
Oh,
it has to go through me first, then I send it to the hiring managers.
okay. All right. Great. So far from the time you started, how many resumes do you think roughly you have reviewed?
Oh, right. I think it go beyond, I would say more than 2,000 maybe.
Wow, that's a large number.
Yeah,
Okay. And you are still doing it now, right?
I'm still doing it now, yes.
Okay. In your experience reviewing resumes, what are areas that really need improvement?
The first the impression, I think the first mistake is the impression from
Mm-hmm.
the resume writer, especially the fresh graduates. Their resume should look good and beautifully designed.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that is secondary. I come back to that. Um, but the other thing is the quality of English used in the resume is
Mm-hmm.
not up to the standard of the professional.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is there's a lot of discussions about this. Some school of thought, if you will, of saying, hey, it's okay as long as the message get across. And some of them has the wrong spelling, some of them has the multiple fonts. Um, but what the biggest thing that is missing in
Mm-hmm.
resume is the achievements and the contributions to the role that they had that they
Okay.
want to highlight. This it also true for the professionals. Some of them cannot highlight their achievements and contributions
Mm-hmm.
into the resume. What they have is normally just a job descriptions, which is pretty much some of them are copied from the job advertisement from previous the company that he or she applied for that particular position,
Mm-hmm.
which is this is wrong. It's job descriptions and then the JDs from the advertisement
Mm-hmm.
and the role and responsibility that you have in resumes is two different things.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. And
some of them believe, yeah.
mhm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, why is it that they don't want to talk about or they want to include their achievements and contributions? Why is that not missing?
Maybe they don't know.
Okay.
Most of them they don't know that is the most important part or the meat of the resumes. Some of
All
them
right.
do not know.
Mm-hmm.
They would rather put into the stars or charts or graphics, or even some of them put pictures.
Mm-hmm.
That is more like, to me, I call it as a garnish, as a decoration rather than the meat. The meat itself is actually what have they done in the previous life, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
That is the one that normally the hiring managers in HR
Okay.
personnel is looking for.
Okay. And when we talk about achievements and contributions, are we also talking about academic and non-academic achievements?
For the fresh graduates, of course, their academic achievements matters. Again, there's a school of thought on this. The other school of thought is saying CGPA doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter during my time, but
Mm-hmm.
now it matters. If
Yeah.
you look at the most of the MNCs, they're asking 3.0 at least CGPA, but now you can see they're asking for 3.3,
Mm-hmm.
and who knew later on they're asking a lot more.
Yeah.
So the CGPA is important, but the other achievements in the the part-time job, for example, if they're doing sales, but many of them are doing retail, for example, working with Eon,
Mm.
then selling clothes at Eon department store, for example, and
That does carry
the
weight, right? That
yeah,
does
and then
carry.
the expected highlight is how much sale have they done.
Mm. Mm.
So then how much revenue that they bring in that particular position. That is something that's company is looking for.
Okay. And how important is co-curricular activities? I mean, the contributions. How important is it?
It is it is next to the academic
Mm.
performance
Mm.
because typically the whole idea of having co-curriculum activities is since the elementary school even to develop the soft skills.
Yeah.
For those who are very active means, let's say you are the higher rank
Mm.
officer in the associations, the presidents or the vice presidents. Those are the one that we're looking for. As a president, for example, you must have a very good leadership skills.
Yeah.
And then, to manage such a group, a big group of
Yeah.
association, the same like managing the whole company as with 400, 300 people.
Mm.
Of course, I mean, it's just a parallel because you don't run the business per se,
Mm.
but your leadership skills is something that you can show
Yeah.
through that co-curriculum activities.
Yeah. And apart from what you said just now, achievements, not including the achievements and also poor proficiency in English, what are other areas the resumes the graduates should look at when they are writing their resumes?
For me, the first thing that I stress during my resume reviews is the first portion on the top of the resume, which is some
Mm-hmm.
people call it summary, some people call the objective, some
Mm-hmm.
people call it about me. But this is the summary on the top, like I call it as the elevator pitch, where this is the first paragraph that the hiring manager or the HR personnel sees before he or she continues reading for the rest of the resumes. This is the one that really say, hire me or please hire me. Then
Mm-hmm.
what goes in there is the reason why they
Mm-hmm.
should hire you. So that's the first paragraph that put on the top
Mm-hmm.
as a career summary or career objective.
Right. And how do you create or write a compelling elevator pitch? Like, it's like, wow, when the hiring manager reads it, he's really impressed. Like, for example, if the position is for, since you're an engineer, if the position is for electrical engineer, how do you write something which is very impressive?
Normally, I advise my clients, so to speak, to use three elements that goes
Mm-hmm.
in there.
Mm-hmm.
First is who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and second, what you bring in, all the qualities that you have, and then the third, how you're going to use that qualities and skills to contribute to the company.
Okay.
That all these three elements will answer the question, why should I hire you?
Okay. And that
So
would be at
the
the beginning.
first the introduction about you is just simply for fresh graduates, what university, who are you.
Mm-hmm.
Normally you don't have to say your names or your degree or your university because it's already there somewhere, and
Mm-hmm.
then you start with who you are and
Mm-hmm.
in terms of your qualities, and
Mm-hmm.
then what technical skills that you have to offer, or technical or soft skill that you have to offer, then how you're going to use that
Mm-hmm.
to contribute to the companies.
Okay, great. Now, after reviewing the resumes, do you normally give feedback to the candidates?
Normally, I spend, it depends on the quality of the resumes that I receive. I could spend between 30 minutes to 100 minutes, for example. Well,
Mm-hmm.
100 minutes will be too long, but some of them can go up to 90 minutes. Um, I normally go through line by line on the resumes and then point something that needs to be fixed,
Okay.
from layouts, from the choice of words, from the sentence structures, from the pictures, the logos if they have. And we go through line by line and then ask them to go back and redo according to my review.
Okay.
and then we come back and do a second round. If
Mhm.
I'm still not happy with the second round, then we go through one more round, and
Mhm.
then normally by the third round, and both of us will be happy with the results, and then they can use their resume to apply for the job.
Okay,
So
great. So,
it is not like a 5 minutes or 10 minutes
yeah,
review. It's gonna be quite time consuming,
yeah. And
because
you,
I want to make sure that it's really perfect
mhm.
according to my standard, and that's I always want to do that.
Okay, and you give the feedback through email or is it through phone calls?
I've there's a very few that requested me to write through email, but I prefer to do it through the phone call, because if we do it through a phone call, is in the interactive form. That
Yeah.
means if the client has a question, they can ask, and I can answer immediately. If I do it through email, for example, I had a few cases that I've done it through email. It takes forever,
Mhm.
because when I reply with all of the comments,
Mhm.
and then the question come back, and then I have to reply to it
Yeah.
again, and it comes back, and then it's very ineffective.
Mhm.
So I prefer not to. But some clients coming from outside of Malaysia, sometimes I have no choice. What
Mhm.
I normally do is I just print the resumes and then use my ugly handwriting, write it on, and give them, yeah, this is what I comment. I hope they can read my bad handwriting.
Okay, all right. But I'm, looking at the situation now with COVID-19 and post the order, after the order is
Mm.
lifted, do
Mhm.
you expect many young executives, young people to be retrenched?
I would expect so, but I don't like it to happen. For the big companies, MNCs like our companies, for example,
Mm.
they're better off in these situations, because they are strong fundamentally. They still can afford to have maybe short period of time, even long period of time, having covering for the compensation and benefits.
Yeah.
But for the SMEs and the small companies, normally they suffer the most. I would expect, yes, is unavoidable, but many people will unfortunately lose their job.
Mhm. Because this is the biggest fear people have, like what's going to happen after the order is lifted. When we go back to work, will we have a job in the first place? That is one of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest concerns many people have, and they always say the last
Correct.
one in, the first one out. And
Yeah.
a lot of young people I know, they're quite worried because
It's not just the young people, but the old people as well. Because some companies they do practice, hey, you are too expensive.
Mm,
You know, that's why they have this VSS. So
yeah. Okay. Moving on. What advice would you like to give the fresh graduates, especially on writing resumes?
Um, first of all, if they want to have my service, they can always can contact me, and I can always help all the times. Even though right now I have to admit the queue is super long. I try to do my best to entertain everybody. Else they can. There's a few others or many others.
Mhm.
The resume writers out there that they can reach. There's many of them in LinkedIn. They can search. They provide this service as well. But whether or not they are paid service or free service, that's different argument. But
Mhm.
the service is out there. Um, so it shouldn't be any issues, because the the problem that I've seen is, especially the fresh graduates, they are struggling by themselves,
Mhm.
and they don't know who to refer to, who to talk to. Especially, for example, if they are the firstborn of the unfortunate B40 family, for example,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
myself, and we have to go through this. But here nowadays, it's not like in the old days where you have nobody out there. But here with LinkedIn,
Mm.
there's many people that you can reach.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering because you deal with students, graduates from both local universities, private colleges, right? Even
Hmm.
those from overseas, universities
Yes.
overseas, right? And
Yes.
do you find resume writing is taught in universities? Is it?
Yes, yes. Actually, they do like IAUM, UIA or IAUM, for example. They do have a formal class to teach this resume writing.
Mm.
Um, I know I'm been doing with the UITM on quarterly basis to go and teach
UITM
them
as
how to
well.
write the good resumes.
Mm.
Um, Other universities that I know, even the universities abroad, they do offer such courses. But the issue that I'm facing is,
Mm.
um, even if I go to the university and then try to teach them to do this, is normally it's done on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, weekend is a sleeping time. So
Yes.
to say, hey, I don't need it, I'll do it later. I come to do it later when I need it. So
Mm.
that's why my advice is for those final semesters or third semesters, for example, if they do have such service at university, then
Mm.
go and take this opportunity,
Yeah.
because once you're out and then you're looking for a job, then at the same time you are struggling to write your resumes.
Yeah.
The time, the waiting time is quite long, because the cycle is quite long for you to get a job later on.
Yeah. True. And so not all universities teach the students on this, right? On resume writing, I presume. Only some.
uh I don't know private college whether they do it, but I do know the IPTA,
Mm-hmm.
almost all of them are doing it,
Okay. Okay. Great.
because many of my friends who's doing the same thing are going, all over the places
Yeah.
to teach them to do this, to do a resume writing, and I mean the whole 9 year of the job application, not just resume, but
Oh.
do a career talk and do how to, find a job, how to do the job hunting properly, and they do have that. As I said, yeah, the participations is quite
Yeah.
pathetic, basically.
And apart from resume writing, in your opinion, what are other modules or courses that should be taught, especially for the final year students?
Um, as we know, as you mentioned earlier at the very beginning, that resume is just a ticket to
Yes.
get you to the interviews. It
Yes.
does not go beyond that. It contributes a bit to the perception of the hiring managers, how good you are based on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
But the next step is the interview step, is the most important part of securing a job. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't perform well in
Mm-hmm.
the interview, then no matter how good your resume is,
Mm-hmm.
your chance is still very slim.
Okay. Okay.
So this is another part that needs to, pay as much attention as resume writing, is the um, interview performance.
Yes. Yes.
I do offer this service also on the top of that, because many of them come and say, hey, and what's next? If I get a call for interview, then can you help me? Then
Mm-hmm.
I say, sure. We do a mock interview for 1 hour, and then all the questions is the standard interview question that I know,
Okay.
and we work from there. The
Okay.
university should be teaching the same thing.
Yeah.
The word of caution is for the university is the counselor
Mm-hmm.
that is doing it, or the career counselor of doing it, may or may not be trained to do
Yeah.
the proper resume reviews and the interview coaching. So
Mm.
they also need help, actually.
Yeah. And I think nowadays, I also find universities and colleges are doing courses on grooming, which is very important for graduates as well, in terms of dressing
Mm.
up for an interview.
Yes.
And yeah, and I think these courses are very important and they are relevant to the students, right?
Yes, exactly. Sometimes it depends. It depends on the age of the hiring manager, I would say,
Mm.
right? If it's all like me, the definition of uh, grooming, or definition of the proper dress up is different than the youngsters nowadays. I've seen some of them comes to for the interview with tight jeans and the round necks,
Mm.
and a few other, clothing that from my perspective as an old guys,
Mm.
those are not the one that you go for interviews.
Yeah.
The one that you go for interviews is, very nicely ironed
Mm.
cotton pants, and then very nicely ironed shirt, nice tie, nice coat, and
Yeah.
then, uh, with all the nice grooming. But maybe the definition of the nice clothing or
Mm.
professional clothing is different nowadays.
Okay, but nevertheless, I think they should at least dress appropriately for the interview and not go
Yes,
completely outfit
definitely.
on
It's
the.
not as long as you don't come with pajamas. I've seen, especially the women. Sorry to say that the definition of the professionalism or professional dress or professional attire is totally different. For the man, is a little bit straightforward, I would say. Um, I've got a girl who came for interview with the how to say that is almost like a tank top to me, but
What position did you have there?
yeah, I'm always doing engineering positions. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think dressing appropriately is also important, and I think maybe especially the final year students need to know a little bit about the do's and the don'ts, and
yes,
also social etiquette, right?
yes,
Social
exactly.
etiquette, yeah. I mean, basic things like coming early, right? Even if you can't make it for an interview, to have the courtesy to call them up or inform them
Yeah.
that you can't make it if you want to postpone the interview. So these things, these social etiquette should also be taught to them. I think that's very crucial.
Yes, so these are, if you look at from the LinkedIn, so many posting from HR personnel or
Mm-hmm.
HR practitioner that, these little things that is really, if you piss them off with these kind of little things, and then, they're not gonna move forward with you, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
and
how to write an email, for example,
yeah,
those are the things that is, I don't know, nowadays I've been receiving a lot of to me, I'm very lucky. I would say 95% of
mm,
my clients knows how to write email properly, and
mm,
then most of the time I feel a little bit, how to say, a little bit embarrassed because they put me way out there and then they're down
mm,
here,
yeah,
supposed to say a nice words about me, and then they need my help. But
mm,
some, the 5%, I just send a resume. That's it.
mm. Okay. So I think a little bit on email etiquette would also be helpful. Yeah.
Oh yes, oh yes,
Yes.
because many youngsters, I would say the past 3-4 years graduates, because they are used to WhatsApps, they're used
Mm.
to WeChats or
Yeah.
some other short forms of writing and emails, and then they're so unfortunate that some of them are using the same language they use on WeChat to write
Yeah.
an email to apply for a job, which
Yes.
is, to me, is still a big no-no.
Yeah.
Some people, hey, grow up. You have to be a young guy. So you have to accept this. I'm sorry, I won't,
Yeah.
and I don't.
Yeah. And I have received email, people applying for a job and addressing me as hi sis. And there was even
Hmm.
one candidate addressing me as hi auntie. That was I was not sure whether to laugh or to be shocked.
Yeah.
If you said, hi auntie, I heard there is a vacancy.
I'm get used to it nowadays. People call me Pachi. I'm okay.
Okay, so those kind of little things, common sense. I mean, I think it has to be taught as well. Unfortunately, yeah. You
Yes, because what is common to us may not be common to them. Yeah.
yes,
So
yes, exactly. And you always emphasize the importance of English. And why is it important
yes.
to have good mastery of English, especially for those seeking a job?
Yeah. I mean, in business, English is, I would say, the only language that strives. Many people have different opinion, but especially when you're working with MNCs,
Mhm.
when you're working with MNC, then you have a teleconference most of the time. For example, some of them every day or a couple times per day that you're speaking with the people from different part of the world. If you cannot communicate well,
Yeah.
then there will be a problem, because if you cannot communicate your solution to the problem, for example, or you cannot describe your problem very well to the other side of the world, and then you're not going to get help from them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why stressing using a good English and with articulation is very important to be successful in your career. Be it you work for SME or for MNCs, it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the interesting thing is in Malaysia, it was true during my time, it is still true now,
Mm-hmm.
that if you speak a good English, then people look it up for you in different perspective,
Yeah.
as opposed to if you don't know how to speak English. So
Mm-hmm.
even the top management, the way you present yourself, the way you present your information, the way you present in a meeting, if you have very good command of English, then people look at you, wow, even though you may not be that smart or you may not know that much, but
Mm-hmm.
that's how it works.
Yeah. And not forgetting you have to write reports, you have to write emails, right? Board papers. These are very
Of
crucial.
course,
Yeah.
of course. And one thing that I've been observing for the past 25 years working in semiconductors,
Mm-hmm.
most of the report, I don't want to say all, but most of the report that we've seen is just charts and pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody writes anything in detail. What can you see from the charts and from the pictures? And
Mm-hmm.
then they pretty much want you to interpret yourself, which is to me is wrong. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to write something in a full sentence in a very precise language and then with a good terminology to describe what you want to present or what you want your audience to see from your presentation material.
Mm-hmm. So again, good writing skills are essential. Yeah.
E- uh, it is especially when you write to your counterpart in the other side of the
Yeah.
world, especially when you're working for the native speakers. You
Yeah.
work for the American company, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody writes short form. Nobody writes, in a very in email like 2 or 3 words.
Mm-hmm.
Just sometimes people write the email, just send it and say, please do
Mm-hmm.
what? And
Mm-hmm.
then you have to have a very good communication in writing
Mm-hmm.
to write a proper email. Of course, not long winding sentences to show that you are very good in English,
Yeah.
but you have to write in the a proper way in the professional level of English.
Yeah. And yeah, certain acronyms may not be understood in different parts of the world, right?
Exactly,
Exactly.
exactly. Especially now, is a lot of short forms, acronyms that even emojis.
Yeah.
It could mean something else for somebody else.
Yes, exactly. In one of the posts in LinkedIn, I had written TQ, a short form TQ. And I mean,
Hmm.
we normally use it to mean thank you, right?
Yes.
But someone reading it in US, he asked me, he said, what is TQ? And I said, oh, sorry,
Mm,
it stands for thank you. He said, oh, it must be
mm.
very common in your part of the world. So I was not sure whether he was
Yes.
being sarcastic or he was being, genuinely
Uh,
honest.
uh,
Yeah.
I think it is. I think it is. So
Okay.
to be on the safe side, you have to spell it out.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
write it in a proper, especially when you write to the people of the other side of the world. If
Exactly.
you're among your friends, among your Malaysian colleagues, yeah, fine. But you have to treat everybody the same as far as writing a good email.
Yeah.
You cannot say, I write to my friend, I can use whatever language,
Yeah.
because that will makes you to accustomed to that. Then eventually you're going to be using that form of English to talk to somebody else on the other side of the world.
Yeah. Exactly. And one more question. As the NCO is extended till 14 April, what's your advice
Mm.
to graduates or those seeking jobs? How can they use this time productively?
Yeah, it's some people will say, hey, this is a time to relax, at times to enjoy a bit, but actually this is the time that to use to close the gap, if you will,
Mhm.
from what the employer is looking for versus what you are offering. And I would suggest to start with going through all the job descriptions that appealing to you,
Mhm.
and to see what they want, what they're asking for. and then see whether do you have that traits or not, and then do the gap analysis, and then take in actions how to reduce this gap. Of course, 14 days is may not be enough. If, for
Mhm.
example, if you're not very good in English, I don't think you can recover in 14 days.
Yeah.
But at least you can do the research on what you're gonna do moving forward
Hmm.
to improve that
Yeah.
uh, deficiency, if you will. So then if you are applying for a job, keep applying. You know, if you say now you're doing, let's say 20, then you have to multiply it, triple it,
Mhm.
quadruple it, and improve the effort, because looking for a job is a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's not, even though you have to work from home, but still a full-time job, then you have to do it a full-time.
Yeah.
You never
Oh,
know, you never
yeah.
know, you may hit into, because it depends, it sometimes it depends on being at the right place at the right time
Yeah.
to get a job. If you don't do it, somebody else will.
Yeah.
So there's competition is stiff out there, really.
Exactly. And yeah, every year we have estimate about wow, 50,000 people graduating from all the
Yep.
institutions of higher learning. So it's going to get
Mm.
more and more competitive, right? So to
Yeah,
create
it is. Mm.
the edge is very important. Like, how do you differentiate yourself, right? How do you stand out? That is very crucial.
Yes, exactly. Um, I would wish that, the people like us could come in on the first year to have an access to these students, so
Hmm.
that we can tell them, hey, you have to start from now.
Hmm.
It's not like after you graduated, because by then it's too late.
Yeah.
My estimates is about 30% at the most that can make it to the fee that they want, and then the rest are just, unfortunately have to work a lot more
Mm.
to get to where they want. Eventually they get to where they want to, they get
Mhm.
the dream job, obviously, but um, it takes a while. So they really have to stand tall, have a good CGPA, have a good behavior, have a good attitude, and to beat the crowd, basically.
Yeah. And the next question is from Noralina Mustamam. She's got a degree in international business. She's actually asked three questions here. She said, I was interviewed last Wednesday by a company. At the same time, the news that MCO is being extended and was announced. During the interview, the interviewer told me he'll get back to me about the status sometimes this week. So she's asking now, should I call and ask for an update tomorrow, Wednesday, as it has been a week?
The standard waiting period is given or practice in Malaysia is 2 weeks, and then now she has to find out whether the company is operating or not at this point in time, because some companies do, some companies don't. If
Mm-hmm.
the company is not operating, meaning nobody's is working, then she has to wait until she has to reset the counting days to the starting of the working period, maybe on the 15th or 16th of April later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then wait maybe 1 or 2 weeks from there, then just can call back, call them and ask for status. Normally, in general, if in normal circumstances, if you don't hear anything within 2 weeks, then most probably you won't get a job.
Okay. And so in this case, she has to wait a little longer?
Yeah, she has to wait a little longer if the company is not working during this period, and
Oh,
she can add 1 or 2 weeks more as this 2 weeks grace period definition.
okay. Her second question is, as a fresh graduate, I don't have a lot of experience to pursue the job that I really want, which is in the area of procurement. However,
Hmm.
during my short internship period and employment, experience some of the job scopes and skills I acquired match with the JD to be working as procurement analyst. How do I sell
Hmm.
myself in my resume or interviews to convince the hiring manager that I can do the job?
Well, in the as a fresh graduate, actually, to many hiring managers, you are a fresh sheet of paper. Um,
Mhm.
if you manage to show that you can do the job, then most probably he will be
Just a minute.
he or she will
Mhm,
hire you,
mhm,
regardless of your background. Have that's going to be difficult, but if you are doing this just for the very generic position like procurement, for example, I don't see any reason why, as long as you stress in your uh, resumes all of your transferable skills that can be applicable to that. And while you're working on the procurement, for example, if you're looking for some other engineering job that is, or some other job that you really want, then
mhm.
you keep applying.
Okay. And she also has another question. And her third question is, would it be okay to just start working in any field first before pursuing a job that I've been dreaming of working? For example, starting out as an HR executive and trying to shift career into procurement later, because her passion is in procurement. This is what she studied for. So is it okay to do HR first or some other things first before getting a proper steady job in procurement?
In general, is if you moving from, let's say, for example, you're moving from engineering to non-engineering, that's easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have non-engineering that you want to be in engineering, that is quite difficult. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that it's not doable. Some of them manage to do that, but it's quite difficult. But for her case, as she can do that, quote unquote, temporarily, until she gets, her dream job.
Yeah.
But it, she will never know that this so-called temporary job will be the right fit.
Yeah. You never know, right?
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, and so thank you so much for answering all the questions, and I hope the job seekers got some valuable tips from you. And before we
Yep.
end, I would like, what would you like to say to those watching this program?
Um, so I would like, first of all, I would like to thank all of the viewers who are spending the time, valuable time for 40 minutes or 30 minutes to watch these videos. And then I really hope that it helps you. But
Mhm.
if you do have a follow-up questions on what I mentioned, or you disagree or you agree with with my comments, then you are welcome to write in or write in the comments when the video has been published later on. If you need help in from your career, I'm here. Just contact me through LinkedIn, and in the LinkedIn, I had an email there that you can use that email as well. But I prefer to be contacted through LinkedIn DM.
Okay, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Isha. So we
Thank
are
you for
coming.
having me.
Thank you. And this is my first interview with anyone, with someone, and I'm glad I chose you as my first interviewee.
Yeah, this is my first time to be interviewed as well. I hope I do well. Let's
Thank
see
you.
what they say.
Yeah. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you so much, Ishaak. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
and
for having me.
thank you so much. And stay at home, be safe, and bye from me now. Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.